Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of the Nick Watkins Show. I'm Nick Watkins, and today we're going to be going over the entirety of the 2025 Giants season. Let's get into it. So, first, I want to talk about the signings that we made in the offseason and how it was feeling going into the year. I feel like there were only two signings, and they were both pretty big. The first one, of course, was signing Willie Adames, the largest contract in franchise history, 7 years for Adames, and I was excited about it going into it. I thought he was the best shortstop available. That was the position that we needed help in the most, and I thought he was a great guy. And now having the benefit of hindsight, being able to look over the entire year, and of course it's only the first year of a 7-year deal, but the first year was very strong for Adamas, even though his start to the year was very cold. But he really turned his season around. He worked hard and won the Willie Mack Award as well. So, and he hit the first 30 homer season for a Giant since Barry Bonds. So, a good year for Adames. So, looking back, that was a nice signing from Buster. And the other signing, of course, was Justin Verlander bringing Unk in to the team. And I thought it was a good signing. I thought it was a little bit of an overpay, 15 million for a 42-year-old Justin Verlander. But you know what? Looking back on this deal now, the first half of the year made it look like a bad contract. He did not have a win for the first half of the year. He did not get a win until late July. Late July. So it didn't look like a very good deal. But the second half of the year, Unk was much better. Uh, Also, the fact that he didn't have any wins is partially due to the fact that the bullpen just blew nearly every game that he came out of with the lead. I believe the stat is that the Giants lost 7 games when Justin Verlander left the game with the lead, which is just atrocious. That's a bad, bad stat to have. So you think that teammates could help him out a little bit, but they could not do that. So, but in the second half of the year, especially August and September, Justin Verlander was very good, and he looked like the Justin Verlander that we all knew and we all feared when he was in his prime. So that was and then going into the year, I was hopeful for the year. I thought we had a good team, a good lineup with Adames and Chapman, all those guys. Jung Hoo Lee's return to the field. I was excited for it, and my excitement continued to grow as through the first month or so of the year. It really felt like 2010 vibes from the team. Every time I would go to the highlights of a Giants game, it would be I get 2010 vibes from this team, or we look like the 2010 team. And that certainly was the case. So in March and April, the Giants went 19-12, uh, which is a very good record, and they were. Let me see the think about it real quick. They were 8-1 their first 3 series of the year. They went to Cincinnati for the first series of the year on opening day. Logan Webb versus Hunter Green, and we were down late in the game, but Patrick Bailey got a game tying single, and then Wilmer Flores hit a 3-run homer to give us the lead in the top of the ninth inning there, and we ended up winning that game. And that was another point that I want to get into real quick is that whenever in the first couple months of the year, whenever the Giants got down in a game, I never got discouraged that much, really. I always think, we still have a chance to win this game. And there were one specific moment in the Yastrzemski walk-off against the Reds, but before in the game, I was thinking, we are going to come back, and we are going to win this game. And sure enough, that happened. That is another point I want to touch on. I got a lot of stats that I have here, and I want to talk about all of them. But 5 walk-offs for the Giants in the first 9 home games of the year. There was Adames single, Flores had a single, Yastrzemski walk-off splash hit, and then Bailey hit a walk-off. I was there for that one. He was single. And then Elliot Ramos inside the park Little League home run. The Giants in the first couple months of the year were clutch. And that's what I meant by 2010 vibes, is we pitched like crazy, great pitching, great defense, and even though the offense wasn't necessarily the best, when it mattered, we hit the ball and we got the clutch hits. And that was something that did not happen later in the year, and is disappointing that it didn't happen. So yeah, Wilmer Flores, like I mentioned, had 7 homers in March and April, as well as 28 RBIs. And for the first kind of couple months of the year, Wilmer Flores was up there with the league leaders in RBIs. He was just knocking everybody in, and that's something that's disappointing as well. As we'll get into that later, how Wilmer had such a great start to the year, but he just didn't really play at the end of the year. But anyway, uh, Elliot Ramos had an extra base hit in each of his first 6 games of the year, which is a great stat, and he tied a franchise record. Jung Hoo Lee had 9 doubles through the first month of the year, as well as a 918 OPS. And you remember back to the series against the Yankees in New York, where he had 3 homers in one series against the Yankees. And that was kind of when the general public of the MLB kind of got introduced to Jung Hoo Lee, and they realized, oh, this guy could be a problem. And I thought he was gonna, be a superstar. Unfortunately, it didn't carry out throughout the year, but he got really high up and then came down. But he worked hard and finished the year kind of in the middle ground. And it's for his first full year, especially considering how last year he only played 37 games. This year comes back and plays 150, and he was still being consistent at the end of the year. That's a good sign for the future for Jung Hoo. So that's exciting. Um, Part of the Yankees series was a part of a 17 game 17 days stretch that happened in April, and the Giants went 10-7 in all those games. The only series they lost was to the Angels, which is ironic considering that all the teams we played were the Yankees, Phillies, Angels, Brewers, and Rangers, and 3 of those teams made the playoffs, and the Angels were one of the ones that didn't. In fact, they were finished the worst out of all 5 of those teams. So, you know, it's kind of funny. I still think about that. Um, and yeah, that's what happened in the first couple months of the year. I was very optimistic, very excited, especially in that first kind of week, kind of first 2 weeks, where I would be at school and people would say, Nick, how about those Giants? And I'd be like, man, we're good now. And I said that over and over again. That exact conversation happened with multiple people many times. And it's just where we are now, knowing how the season ended. Um, it it's disappointing for sure, knowing that we started out the year so well. We were competing, and we were winning games, and now the season is over. So, anyway, let's move on to May, where Robbie Ray was the National League Pitcher of the Month in May. Ray in May, he had 45 starts. The Giants actually won the first 8 games started by Robbie Ray in the year, and we had a 13-14 record in May. I think we had a 19-12 record in the March and April. I don't know if I mentioned that, but just in case I didn't, I'll mention that now. 13-14 record in May, which is a losing record, but it didn't really feel like that. It felt like we were still competing and winning games. So I was actually a bit surprised to see that when I wrote it down. One thing I have in my notes here, it just says best bullpen in baseball. And that's because we had the best bullpen in baseball. We had Randy Rodriguez, who had a fantastic, fantastic May. Really just a great year in general, but his May was outstanding. He was our best bullpen arm, followed by Tyler Rogers, Camilo Doval, Eric Miller. Rodriguez had a sub 1 ERA, and all those guys I just mentioned as well had a sub 2 ERA. And that's really, really crazy to think about that all our bullpen guys were just so dominant throughout the year. And I remember thinking that we had the best bullpen in baseball, and along with the Padres, the very strong bullpens. I saw a stat where it said we won the first when we were ahead after 6 innings. We won 21 straight games to start the year. We were winning after the 6th inning, which is a wild stat to think about. Um, Wilmer Flores continued his success. He had a 3 homer game against the A's on May 16th. I think it was the 16th. That was on a Friday night, Orange Friday. He hit 3 homers in a game, had 8 RBIs. He, and once again, it's just sad to think about how the season ended for him, how how little playing time he got. But anyway, so May was yet another good month, still hanging around in contention, still winning ball games. Although Lee and Yastrzemski and all those guys, kind of the performance kind of fell off for after April. We were still competing and still right in the mix. So that's what happened in May, and then moving on to June, we went 13 and 14, and a lot happened in this month. This was kind of the peak of the Giants a little bit, and it started to go downhill after the midpoint of the month. So what happened in June? We started a 7 game winning streak on the 5th against the Padres in a comeback win, and that lasted until the 12th. So a 7 game win streak, beat the Padres twice to tie that series, then swept the Braves at home, went to Colorado and won 3. Unfortunately, Randy Rodriguez blew the save in the 4th game, and I still think about that game to this day, and I just shake my head because I can think of many of those games throughout the year where blown saves happened, and if we had just won 3 of those games, we'd be in the playoffs right now. But we'll get to that later, and we will get to that later because that's prevalent. Um, let's see what do we got here. The Chapman injury was a big one. After Matt Chapman hit a walk-off home run against the Braves in the middle of that winning streak on the 8th, he got hurt the next day. Hurt his hand, his right hand, which is his throwing hand, and he would be on the IR for nearly IL injured list for nearly a month after that, and that really kind of hurt our season because um, after that injury, the offense was not as good, and that was kind of when we started to go downhill. But on the 13th of June, Casey Schmidt hit a grand slam off Yoshinobu Yamamoto against the Dodgers, and we were tied for first place in the National League West on that day after Schmidt hit the grand slam. That was a 5-0 win in LA. I remember that game very well. And then what you might be wondering, or not wondering, you probably already know. I don't know where I'm going with this, but 2 days later, after being tied for first place, still very much in contention against the Dodgers, we made the biggest trade in the history of my lifetime for baseball and for the Giants. I mean, I wasn't I don't really remember the Carlos Beltran trade. I was 4 years old when that happened, but this is for sure the biggest trade in recent Giants history, maybe Giants history in general, for a mid-season acquisition. Rafael Devers from the Boston Red Sox. When this happened, I yelled so loudly. My dad was taking a nap. I woke him up, and I had to wake him up to tell him we got Rafi Devers. I was so excited, and he's a great player. And looking back now at the end of the year, what one of my friends asked me, he asked me, Nick, would you make the trade now, knowing what you know happened, like knowing what happened? And I said, absolutely, I would. I would, because he still has, I think, 5 or 6 years. Actually, no, it's got to be more than that. I'm not sure how many years of control he has left, but it's a lot. It's a lot of years left of control. I think it's way more than 6. It might be like 10 or 11 or 12. Sound like I probably should have researched that. But yeah, we traded for Rafael Devers from the Red Sox, took on every penny of that contract, which is a big one. And we gave up Jordan Hicks, Kyle Harrison, and 2 prospects. And the reason why, going back to the point of why I would still do the trade, is because not only is Devers a good player who had a nice season for us in 90 games, he hit 20 homers, and but what we gave up to get him, we didn't lose any big pieces. I mean, Jordan Hicks was not helping us win games. I can think of one game where he was the reason we won, and that was the first start of the year in Houston, where I thought he was going to be the best pitcher of the year. But after that, he stunk. No offense, of course. And Harrison, I love Kyle Harrison. I'm rooting for him. I think he's going to be a great player, a great pitcher in this league. But he was not helping us win games. He was barely um, on the team at that point. He had just gotten called up. So yes, I would do the trade because not only did Devers have a good year after kind of a slow start because of his injury that he had when he came over, but we still have him for so many years in the future, and he's still gonna be good. So absolutely 100%, I would do that trade. Um, I would do that trade again, and I stand by it. I think Buster made a fantastic move, and that's part of the reason why it's so disappointing to know where we are is because Buster put the pieces in place for us to win ball games and to win the division, and we couldn't do it. And it's not like we got worse when we made the trade. We got so much better to have Rafael Devers on the team, but it's just I don't know what happened, and that's the other part that I want to get into. This is the point that I've been sitting on for a while, waiting for this video to make. Is I really don't know what happened and where it went wrong. You can't like point to a specific player or coach or game or moment or anything like that. It was just I'm honestly not really sure how to explain it. And I know sports very well. I think so. I pride myself on my ball knowledge, if you will. But I honestly I could not explain what went wrong and why it went wrong and how it went wrong and all that stuff. And that's part of why a big part of why it's so disappointing to know that here we are in October and we're not part of the playoffs because we easily had a chance. Everything was going well, and then we make a move to get better, and somehow everyone forgets how to play baseball. Um, there's not there's not an explanation for it really. Um, it's and that's why it's so frustrating. And I guess one minor reason you can point to is I have in my notes here. Eric Miller got hurt in June, and that was the last time he pitched this year as he got shut down because of his shoulder thing. I like Eric Miller a lot. He's the only player to strike out Shohei Ohtani 5 times in 5 at bats. In his rookie year, he did that. 5 at bats against Ohtani. He struck him out all 5 times. That's why he's a dog, and I love him for that. And that's really the main reason why I like him so much is because Ohtani is his son, and I'm gonna get burned for that later. I don't know, maybe whatever. Let's not overthink that too much. Actually, that reminds me. I want to make this point. My computer just froze. Okay, here we go. When we traded for Rafael Devers, I was so um like braggy and I definitely I talked the talk for sure. I told everyone who asked about the trade, I told them that we're gonna win the World Series. We're serious contenders. I said we're serious contenders and we have a real shot to win the division and win the World Series. And we're definitely making the playoffs. And that is and I mean I any rational person would agree at that point in time that oh yeah, the Giants are making the playoffs. They just got Rafael Devers and they're only a game back of the Dodgers in the division. They are for sure going to make the playoffs at least. And what happened? We did not make the playoffs. And in no, and it's not Rafi's fault. He played, you know, he wasn't the best in his first kind of month with us. That's because he was hurt a little bit as well, and also a new city across the country. But Rafi had a nice year, and it's not his fault. And it's hard to explain, and you can't explain it. So I guess the point of that little side tangent was to not brag, be humble. Anyway, let's move on to July, where the Giants went 9-15. It was not a good month. It was probably the worst month of the year. You know, the spring went so well for the Giants, and the summer went horribly. Everyone sucked except for Willie Adames, who was fantastic. He took his first off day on June 10th, and after that, he was hitting like 300, I know that he was the MLB The Show July Spotlight Player of the Month. He was so good that they gave him another card even after they gave him one for the first week. That's how freaking good he was in July. And yeah, Adames really turned his season around in the summer, and he started playing very well. The All Star game and the break was also in July, and we had three representatives. It was Logan Webb, Robbie Ray, and Randy Rodriguez. Webb and Rodriguez pitched in the All Star game, all very deserving. Yeah, they all deserve to be there. I think even Tyler Rogers deserved to be there, but he did not make it. But for Rodriguez to make it as a setup man, not even a closer, there's only three spots for the bullpen guys from each league, and a setup man got it. And that's how just goes to show how good Rodriguez was. His ERA was under one still at that point in the year. I think it stayed at like point 0.8 until August. Rodriguez, fantastic year, and I'll be praying for him as well because he's going to be missing next year as well with his surgery, which is just devastating, and it honestly frightens me. I don't know what we're gonna do, man. The bullpen is not. We'll get to that. Um, yeah, it was a total collapse from the Giants, and everything was in order. Like I said before, Buster got all the right guys. The acquisition of Dom Smith as well that happened in the summer in June. I forgot to mention that. But yeah, everything was in place, and then we collapsed, and I can't explain it. And what happened was the low point for the season, in my opinion, was when after the All Star break, we got swept by the Blue Jays in Toronto. We went to Atlanta, dropped the first game, but then won the next two, including a win for Justin Verlander. And then we're feeling good. Two back-to-back wins against the Braves, Verlander's first win. And then we get swept by the Mets at home and swept by the Pirates at home as well. And those are two teams that were very bad on the road. And the Pirates were not even a good team. They were very bad this year. We didn't have to go up against Skeens um, at any point this year. And yet we got swept by the Pittsburgh Pirates at home right before the trade deadline. And that was the spark, the catalyst, if you will, that caused Buster Posey to pull the trigger on selling at the deadline. And it was really that week leading up to the deadline where, okay, are we gonna turn it around? Are we gonna start contending, or are we gonna stink? And we stunk hard, big time. It was it was a full collapse, full collapse, and it makes me very angry thinking about it because we had our chance, but we blew it, and it's very frustrating. So let's take a look at who got dealt at the deadline for the Giants. It was Camilo Doval, who was my favorite player for a very long time. In 2023, he was so good, all-star closer. Tyler Rogers, who is the franchise leader in holds. I didn't know about that until the day before he got traded. He actually got that mark. And then Mike Yastrzemski, who I have his jersey as well. He was a big part of our team. Um, Fan favorite for sure. I'm getting sad talking about this because I love all three of those guys. Of course, there is still a chance that Tyler Rogers is a free agent, unrestricted. He could re-sign with the Giants if he wanted to, and I hope he does because he's a great player and I love him so much. And we really could use him because our bullpen sucks. Anyway, yeah, we traded Camilo Doval to the Yankees for four prospects. We traded Tyler Rogers to the Mets for two or three prospects. And we traded Yaz to the Royals for one prospect. And I didn't like the moves for the first 10 minutes because I was sad they were going, and I realized that it meant that we were selling, and the year was not going in the direction that we wanted. But after looking at the prospect haul, and already the early returns look fantastic. I got on board with it after like a couple of minutes of after the shock went away. But one prospect we got back for Tyler Rogers is already in the show. His name is Drew Gilbert, my friend Kelsey's favorite player, and um, and he really sparked this team when he got called up. I was at his debut game. He did not get a hit, unfortunately. I was actually surprised that all the fans knew who he was. I knew who he was, and when I saw he was in the starting lineup, I was super happy that I was able to see it. But I didn't expect all the Giants fans to know who he was, but they did. They gave him a big ovation when he first came up. But anyway, I got ahead of myself there. We'll get to Drew Gilbert in a sec when we talk about September. But for August, the Giants went even 14-14, and you might think, okay, it was a consistent month. It was not a consistent month. It was super inconsistent, and they were the reason we were 14-14 is because the first half was awful, and the second half we actually started winning ball games. So for the first half, basically until the end of the summer. I consider summer ended on the first day of school, and for me that was the 13th of August. And so yeah, that checks out. The summer was awful, and then as soon as summer ended for me, we started winning ball games. But yeah, we went. We played the Padres 6 times. Yeah, 6 times, and we lost 5 of those games. Um, Yikes. That's another big thing. We were 3-10 versus the Padres this year, 4-9 versus the Dodgers, and 6-7 versus the Diamondbacks. Um, that's not a recipe for success. When you're trying to win the division, trying to at least make the playoffs, you got to win games against your division. You play them the most. We did not do that. We lost big time. We were 7-19 against the big dogs in the West. Um, that's not good. Anyway, we I have my notes here for the month of August. It says can't hit because we couldn't hit. We I don't know how do you even elaborate on that. We just our offense was not very good over the summer. That's an understatement. Um, Randy Rodriguez out for the year in August. That happened. Ryan Walker became the closer. Walker, after having a very good 2024 year, had a bad 2025. So I don't know, but there I can think of if you take all of Walker's blown saves, which I mean, come on, if you take it was like a coulda, woulda, shoulda, right? But there I can think of plenty of ball games where we should have won, and Ryan Walker blew the game, and it just so happens that if we actually had won those games, we'd be in the playoffs right now. So I don't know if he's coming back next year. I don't know if I want him back next year. Obviously, I hope that he gets it together because he seems like a nice guy, and he actually, like volunteers and does like charity work with the homeless every road trip. So obviously, he's a nice guy. I hope he's gonna be back. Um, I hope he's gonna be good if he comes back. But reality's reality, man, and we saw that after what happened very recently, which we'll save for the end of the episode, which is already pretty long. So I hope people are still watching, man. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of just ranting at this point. These are all my thoughts on the season. Um, but yeah, the last week of August was a good week for the Giants. Swept the Cubs, who are a playoff team. Went 5-1 on the homestand, including another Verlander win. And that leads us to September, which is when I first started this show. And that's the first couple weeks were very good, and it was for the month of August I was telling myself not to lose hope, I guess, that there's always a chance. You never know what could happen, and crazy things could happen. All you gotta do is get hot at the right time and then get in, and then anything can happen, and anything almost did happen. We were very, very, very close. We had 17 consecutive games with a home run from August into September, and that was a part of the reason why we were winning those ball games because the offense had finally woken up and we're hitting the ball. At one point here, I have it on September 12th. The Giants were half a game back at the New York Mets for the final wild card spot in the National League. Oh, you're so close. So close. Half a game back. And that also This makes it sting a whole lot more knowing that we had a chance in June, collapsed, but we almost had it coming back up in the early parts of September, and that you know it makes it hurt even more knowing that even after the big collapse in the summer, after the awful summer that we had, we still had a chance when the fall rolled around, and we almost had it, but we just couldn't make it because of another collapse. Part of the reason why we were even so close to begin with was the youth movement. Drew Gilbert really bringing the energy every day in the clubhouse. Bryce Eldridge got a call up. He wasn't very good, but I mean, it's still cool to see our top prospect making his big league debut. Peguero as well coming up. Um, Justin Verlander, I talk about him a lot. Sub 2 ERA and 5 starts uh, from August 31st into September. But then after that, we couldn't hit. We played the Dodgers in 2 series. Patrick Bailey had a walk off. Let's talk about Bailey real quick before I continue to that point. If you think about 2024 in the first half, he was hitting 280 in the first half while playing Gold Glove defense, and in the second half, his batting average dropped 50 points, but he still won a Gold Glove. And then I was expecting more of that this year, but he still played Gold Glove defense. I think he should absolutely win it. But in the second half, man, his bat started to get a lot better. He stopped chasing as much. So props to Patrick Bailey for turning his season around offensively. And even when he wasn't going well, when he wasn't, hitting the ball all consistently, he was still so clutch. He had 3 walk-offs this year: a single, an inside the park walk-off home run, and an inside the park grand, or not inside the park, just a regular home run, but a walk-off grand slam against the Dodgers in September. So shout out Bailey, Patty Barrels. Um, yeah, good job from him. While we're shouting out people, I haven't mentioned Logan Webb, our ace, once in this this video, which is not really something that whatever. Logan Webb, fantastic year once again. He added to his strikeouts so much. Third in the league in strikeouts, led the National League in strikeouts. In the league, he was behind Crochet and Scooble. I think Crochet and Scooble. But led the league in innings, though. And if you can lead the league in innings and still be top 3 in strikeouts, it means you're doing a lot of things right. And you're a very complete pitcher. And Logan Webb definitely increased his strikeouts this year, and that was a great step for him. While we're talking about pitchers, real quick, Robbie Ray. I was wondering why in the first half he was so good, and then in the second half he was not as good. In fact, he was kind of mid in the second half. And I realized that it's because last year he only threw 30 innings recovering from Tommy John surgery. And that means in the first half he was fresh and he was great. And then in the second half he probably got a little bit tired, or a lot tired, and really tired. And that was why his performance dropped off. So, well, I'm just gonna save talking about all these players till the end. Okay, let's just do that. Um, and the collapse happened, and we finished the year 81-81. Classic Giant season, right? Ups and downs, plenty of torture, plenty of walk-offs, but all the ups and all the downs even out to at or around 500, and in this case we were at 500 exactly. So that was the year. And then let's just continue talking about some of the players. Staying in the rotation, I talked about Unk already, and the big 3 at the top, the older guys. Landon Roop had kind of a. I was actually very surprised when Landon Roop won this starting job out of spring training over Birdie and Harry. But Roop, after he was good. He was kind of he was solid. He wasn't great, but he was good until the Dodgers start in LA. Then he got shelled, and he came back and was very good. He was our second best pitcher um, in the second half of the year until he unfortunately got hurt. But he was having a nice year, and I think he started throwing the fastball more because his curveball is very good. but he threw the fastball more and the changeup more in order to set up the curveball, and he was mixing his pitches. He looked a lot like Logan Webb out there, to be honest with you. And that is just a shout out to Landon Roop. I think the future is bright for him. Another pitcher that was good was Kaiwei Tang. I thought um, after what happened last year, I was not high on him. I did not think he was a good pitcher. He proved me wrong. The stamina is cause for concern because he does not pitch very well after 4 or 5 innings. But and he showed promise for sure. Hunt made his MLB debut. He showed flashes. The changeup's nasty, of course. Birdsong, I don't know what happened. He was very good to start the year. He's uh, one of my favorite players for sure. But it seemed like his command was very bad. He could not throw a strike. I don't know if it's a yips thing, but just hoping that he'll take some time to get right and all that stuff. That was the starting rotation. The bullpen, lots of guys stood out from the bullpen. Rodriguez, Miller, Doval, and Rogers all had great years. Unfortunately, Doval and Rogers aren't even on the team anymore. But Rodriguez and Miller will be, and they had good years. Ryan Walker, again, we talked about that. Guys like Bivens pitched a lot. Bivens pitched a lot of innings this year, and he was very solid. Shout out to him. Guys like Lucchesi and Gage, and a lot of um, veterans that we added. The bullpen from now, the beginning of the year, looks very different. Obviously, the beginning of the year was better, but what are you gonna do? Now let's talk about some of the players that we had. So we got Jung Hoo Lee. We'll start in the center field with Lee. He had a nice year. I mean, his April was so, he was on fire in April, and then he struggled, and then he brought it back up, like I said. So, considering that he played 120 more games this year than last year, it's a good sign, and we'll take it, right? Elliot Ramos had a nice start to the year. He was a good leadoff hitter. He got hit a lot of times, by the way. I don't know. I'm just kind of now I'm going through every single player and just listing as many thoughts as I have on them, and just saying my feelings on them. I think Ramos is a good player. I think the defense could be improved, but also he's a exciting player to watch out there. Good leadoff hitter, some pop. Um, Good year from Ramos. He played a lot of games too, very consistent. Drew Gilbert, future's bright for that kid. He's so energetic. Luis Matos, I think. I was hoping for him to take a step last year, but he didn't, and then maybe this year, but he didn't really. There's not a lot of playing time for him, not a lot of consistent playing time. I hope that he figures it out, I guess, before his contract is up, because he could go elsewhere. Um, but yeah, that's that. Grant McCray brought up for defense. Good defender. All right, Grant McCray. Matt Chapman. He wants to play every single game out there. He got hurt, and that really um, was frustrating for him. It was a tough year for him because of that injury, but he was still solid, consistent. He drew a lot of walks this year, which is a big thing. The on base percentage is very high, and he's still Matt Chapman, so the glove is fantastic. Um, so that was Chapman. He's a leader on the team, even if the numbers aren't eye popping. He's still a huge part of the team. At shortstop, Adamas, I talked about him, the slow start, but then the summer was better, second half better. I already said everything. He's just such a fun player to watch. He is a great presence out there. You can watch the Willie Mack Award video that I made from about a week ago, talking about everything I feel about Adamas. The second baseman this year, there was Fitzgerald, who I was hoping would continue his White Barry Bonds form from July of last year. Unfortunately, didn't happen so much, you know, but hopefully he figures that out because he's a fantastic player to watch when he's going right. When he's confident, he he's a great player. We saw that last year in July. Casey Schmidt, I thought when Casey Schmidt first came up, I was like jokingly calling him like a future Hall of Famer. He hit a homer in his first at bat, I believe. Um, and last year wasn't the best for him. This year, he's way more disciplined. He's showing an incredible glove out there, and Schmitty is becoming one of the better players on our team. So the discipline is great. He's bald now. He has a beard. It's crazy. Um, Christian Koss, I didn't even know who he was until he got his first start of the year in Houston. But he had a nice year. I mean, he honestly was one of our better hitters over the summer before he got hurt. He's consistent. He's a good base runner. Um, he's a nice, solid role player. So Christian Koss, nice. Flores, this is the point that I've been leading towards all video is I don't know if he's coming back. He's been such a big part of our team, you know, such a big part of our team for this decade. In 2023, he was one of our best players. I think it was 23, maybe it was 22. I can't exactly remember. Both of those years probably. I mean, he was just so hot at start of the year, but he's kind of an older guy, and the Devers trade moving Rafi to first um, kind of prevented him from playing a lot. I would love to see him get more playing time and continue driving in runs, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen, and which is unfortunate. Dom Smith. Dom Smith was a nice pickup. I haven't even talked about Lamont Wade. Wow, I thought I was going to talk about him. Anyway, Dom Smith, nice pickup, good glove, solid bat. He had a 16 game hitting streak at one point in the year, so Dom Smith is good. Rafi Devers in his half year with the Giants. I'm so excited for the future with Rafi. Um, I think it's good he's learning first base. He looks good over there, and I think he's going to be a leader on this team. And I haven't even talked about Lamont Wade. He was one of my favorite players for sure. Late night Lamont. He just had a rough start to the year. He was 0 for 20 before getting a home run, but he wasn't the same Lamont Wade. He wasn't drawing walks. He wasn't taking close pitches. Um, so he was gone, and that sucked. Uh, Patrick Bailey, I talked about him. Kisner, he's a backup catcher for the Giants, so he's kind of mid. But he seems like a nice guy. And I think that's everybody, all the players at least, because there was a big move. Somebody got fired. It was Bob Melvin, the manager of the Giants, got fired. And like I said, just too many collapses, man. You know, can't even explain what went wrong, but Bob Melvin fired for it. I Let's talk about it. I honestly I agree with the move. I think it could have gone 50-50. It's tough. I'm sure it was a hard decision for Buster, but you know, I think that Buster wants to win so much, and with this move, he's basically saying we want to win no matter, and we'll do whatever it takes to win, even if it means firing our manager. Because 80 82 last year, 81 81 this year, when we had playoffs as our main goal, I guess he's showing that you know whatever it takes to win. We'll do whatever it takes. And I like that message. And I hope the new guy is going to be good. But yeah, Bob Melvin, he was a good manager. I was hoping for success with him, but I also want the playoffs. So we'll see about that. I know this has been a very long video. My throat is starting to get a little bit sore. There's playoff baseball going on right now, and I'm not even watching it as I'm doing this video. I can't believe it's been 43 minutes already. I don't even know if anyone's going to watch this. But it was fun for me to just talk about it. And then, anyway, maybe you watch this if you're just unbelievably bored. You can go ahead and watch this video. Should have put that in the beginning. Oh well. I've been talking for so long that my brain is fried. That's crazy. I've been talking for almost 45 minutes nonstop. But if you know me, you also know that's not that crazy. I need to just end this video now before I say something stupid. Too late. All right. Oh boy. Okay. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. 2025 Giants roller coaster, ups and downs, even out to 81 and 81. And we're just looking forward to next season. The Niners are playing the Giants. The Warriors and Sharks right around the corner. Um, Looking forward to next year, and it was fun. It was fun. I had a lot of fun this year for the Giants with the Giants, and that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe and comment and do whatever. Have a great day.